Hello everybody, my name is Christian Rodriguez. Welcome to Boss Talk. Okay, today on a special, we have a very special guest, Mr. Simon Polito. For maybe I want to say for a few of you, you may or may not know who he is. For those that do not know, although he looks like a GQ model, he actually is not. But we have a special guest. I don't know if you maybe want to give him a quick introduction about who you are, what you do, maybe two or three things that people do not know about you. Of course, I know you're a real estate agent and you have a plethora of titles, but maybe two or three things aside from who you are and what you do, two things that people may not know about you.
Okay, yeah. Again, first and foremost, thank you for having me on the show. Great time to see you again. It's only been a week. But my name's Simon Polito, originally born Sydney, Australia, in a town called Manly. So I always tell my wife she married a very manly man. So that's one thing no one would know about me. Two, I've got three beautiful kids, Elvis, Valentina, and Alessandro. So I'm very blessed to have such a beautiful family around me. We've been living in the United States, California primarily for the last 6.5 years, but was a real estate agent in Australia for 14 years before that. Started at the tender age of 17. So that was quite a learning experience, let's be honest with each other. Started in property management, worked my way all the way through, lost all my money 3 times and made all my money back 3 times. And here we are now telling the story of how you can go up and down in real estate and all around.
Awesome. Yeah, so Simon and I met about a week ago at an EXP event. And so I was super grateful to be able to meet him. And I think before we kind of get into the channel podcast here, if you will, I think a lot of times us people in life, we don't give credit when credit is due. We wait for people to pass, people to die, and we give them their flowers then. And that's a little bit too late. So even though I don't know you that well, just based off your impression, I want to tell you personally that I think you're an inspiration, not just to me, but to a lot of agents, to a lot of businesses and industries. Yeah, of course. And I think most people that are successful on the journey of success are big believers in numbers, and numbers don't lie. And a little bit, you're gonna know that this man himself has done $700 million in sales. And you look at someone that has done $1 million or $2 million, and you may think, man, well, can they sustain it? But this man has done it for a very long time, and I believe that you're not just a leader, but you're a generational leader. Absolutely. And I really believe that you exemplify success. You carry yourself like success. But yeah, I just want to give you that encouragement, words of advice that from a agent in the business, above all else, that we appreciate you and we see what you're doing, and we're very thankful just to be able to have in the industry.
I'm worried that you're going to give me an invoice after this.
Actually, Wasim, I sent him a $25,000 invoice, okay? So, Wasim, send it back tomorrow.
There you go, baby. It was always doing something for nothing and never getting anything back. I wasn't growing.
Okay.
And it was really difficult because I couldn't get my feet wet enough to grow and expand. And it wasn't until I went into the city and worked with a much larger demographic of wealth that I realized that it wasn't about relationships at that time. It was about business. Right? I was dealing with the wealthiest of the wealthiest, and all in one street. They all lived in one street. It was amazing. So my office that I worked for was the oldest residential building in the country of Australia. It was built in 1912.
Wow.
Which seems quite new when you're over in the United States or in Europe, but in Australia it's a very new country. It's only a couple of 100 years old. So we're still growing, but everyone in that street was very wealthy. I had a great mentor. She was phenomenal. Vicky Lane was her name. Is her name. She's still here. And she took me under her wing as a mother, more than anything. And she really guided me. But I was grateful for the opportunity. I was on the verge of leaving the industry because I had been screwed over by previous agents that I had partnered up with who never paid me or took advantage of me. I just wanted to work. And I was so appreciative of any opportunity. I was never going to let that person down. So when Vicky, who I met working on a night job so I could stay alive, said, "Hey, how's your day?" I said, "Look, today I'm done. I'm out of real estate. I want out. I don't want to work in this place anymore. They're all sharks. Everyone screws each other over. This is just the most unethical industry to ever work in."
How old were you at that time?
22, 23, something like that. It was 2006.
Okay.
And she said, come to my office next week. I didn't know where her office was. I'd never left the Northern Beaches. I was stuck between two bridges. I had to, and again, it's going to show my age. We didn't have Google. We had a book. And you had to flick through it. And you had to go to page 163, J3, and I had to find where it was. I had to work out how long it was going to take me to get there, which I only could find out by asking around because there was no Google or GPSs. And I got into the city, I met her, and it turned out her father was one of the original founders of a company called Lang and Simmons, which at that time was one of the largest franchises in Australasia, between Australia and all of Asia. And Doug Lang, who is the godfather of real estate, I don't care what anyone says, is the godfather of real estate in Australia, was the coolest guy. And I say was because he did pass away, unfortunately, God rest his soul. He was my best friend in the industry. He and I would have lunches and breakfast. Actually, every Thursday morning we'd have breakfast. Wow. And the materials I'd learned from him were just out of this world, like this. The guy in the 80s sold a high-rise for $45 million. In the 80s. That's
crazy.
Big money.
Yeah.
And he did it on a handshake.
Wow.
Right? And I would walk down, where I worked was a suburb called Potts Point, or King's Cross, better known. It's the red light district of Sydney, which is interesting because you turn the street and there are brothels, massage parlours, strip clubs, drug dealers.
The whole 9 yards.
It's everything you're looking for in Amsterdam in one street in Sydney, Australia. And you turn the corner and it's called the Parisian end, the Paris end, which is the wealthiest people in the entire country within 100 feet of each other. Of the scummiest to the greatest, right? And I loved it because it was edgy, it had diversity.
Yeah.
That brought people together. And Doug, it was called the Golden Mile. It was actually one exact mile in length, which is weird because we don't use mile in Australia. We use the worldly measure called the metric system. Just poking fun at you. But so it was called the Golden Mile. And Doug Lang was the godfather of the Golden Mile. I would walk with him and people would stop, shake his hand, greet him. He was dealing with the likes of a guy called Abe Saffron, one of the most notorious gangsters in Australian history. John Ibrahim, another gentleman who's an entrepreneur, I guess you could call him, in the industry. These are guys that people were honestly scared of, and we were able to work with these guys. I would collect the rent with him, help him out. We'd go check out, massage parlors and get the rent from the strippers. And then from there we'd go into a $5 million condo and, be sipping on some beautiful red wine. And it was just like, where am I?
Super diverse.
Super diverse. And because I immersed myself in that, I ended up moving out there at that time with my fiance, who is now my wife. And we lived right in this heart of the city. And it was just an amazing time to be alive. Yeah. We had a view from our balcony of the whole Harbour Bridge, Opera House, whole city. And I mean, everyone every weekend would be calling us up to hang out with us. But I was immersing myself with such wealth and experience and genuine people that I'd be doing dinners every night. It's hard to prospect in Australia. And I say it's hard to prospect in certain areas, not all of them, but where I was located, they're all high-rise. It's like a mini New York. It was actually known as the mini New York.
Wow.
Everything had a concierge downstairs. Right?
So you got to pitch the concierge before
you're not going to go up to the front of a concierge, of a common building and you're going to press 1, 2, 3 bell. Right? You've got to be able to adjust, mirror, float with the crowd, right? So for me, it was about mixing with the right people. I mean, I sold to 3 prime ministers of the country of Australia. It's the equivalent of selling to 3 presidents of the United States. I barely finished school. I didn't even get my certificate. I didn't finish school. I didn't go to college. I went to work. I learned everything from my grandfather, who was my best friend, and my dad, and my mum. I don't think my mum actually was a great lady as well. Is a great lady as well, and my grandma. But my grandfather was my mentor, my best friend, and he taught me street smarts. I mean, the guy moved from Italy with no schooling at all after the first grade, and couldn't speak a word of English. Moved over across the world to escape the mafia. And he always used to say, I only came here with 1 shoe, which I think was a lie. I'm pretty sure he had 2 shoes. But if he can do that without any of the technology and the resources and whatever we have right now that's available to us in this modern day, hell, we can all do this.
Yeah.
So for me, I moved over to this country to give my family now a better life, right? My kids. My kids now have the opportunity to get not only the United States schooling system, but also the British system, because Australia runs under the British system, like Canada. And that is a huge tool that they have a luxury of having access to, that normally people wouldn't. My wife, she came and studied at the University of Sydney.
That people can apply. Obviously, there is a lot of information that you provided. One of the things that sticks out to me was that you were living in one place, just like Newport Peninsula, where there was like just one in, one out. And then maybe not something like, maybe it wasn't something specific that completely changed, transform your mind, but something inside you like, I gotta make a transition. I gotta pivot. I gotta adjust, right?
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. And you decided, hey, I'm gonna pivot, adjust, I'm gonna make the move, and I'm gonna try to be successful. I'm trying to go after this dream that I have. And you said earlier that age 22, age 23, you were just gonna give up on real estate. Was it age 23 or 22?
I think it was 22. Actually, no, it was 23 because it was after my birthday. It was 20. I was 23.
We'll say 23.
Let's just say
That's
23.
okay. No worries. We'll say 23.
It was a while ago.
Right? And so I think a lot of people are on this journey, on this path to success. And whether they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, everybody at one point will reach a similar point too where just like, I want to give up. What would you say to that individual, that business owner, that entrepreneur, that leader, that person that's kind of making the most out of nothing, that either has already given up or is thinking of giving up? What would you tell that individual?
I almost gave up, and if I did, I wouldn't be here today. Now, I get it. Money controls everything. I don't care what people say. If people say money can't buy happiness, they obviously are people who don't have money.
Yeah.
Because you can buy happiness with money. It's short-lived. It's not going to be eternal. But I'm pretty sure you'll be damn happy right in that moment when you go and buy your brand new boat, or your yacht, or your Ferrari, or your Lamborghini, or your big mansion that you've been working your whole life to get, right? Having said that, you can't take money to the grave. And unfortunately, for some people in different industries, not just real estate, to get that goal achieved, they need some money, consideration, investment to be able to push to follow their dreams. Now, I had to work a night job to do that. I worked 6 nights in a cafe, which was one of my best friend's families, family Italian delicatessen / cafe restaurant at night.
Wow.
I worked 7 days in real estate. I didn't have days off.
So you were working you're working 6 nights at your regular job, and then you were also working 7 days real estate.
7 days in real estate.
So for those of you,
I had no life.
Yeah, for people that like, we don't have enough time. There's not enough time, if you will. But really, I can't do it. It's not possible. I have too much stuff going on. This guy, literally, 6 nights at a cafe, 7 days, 7 nights in real estate.
Yeah, it's called sacrifice. How badly do you want it? I wanted it. Look, I don't like to talk about too much, but when I was at the age of 6, my dad went bankrupt. I opened the door to the sheriff who came into our house, took everything out of it. It's an image I'll never forget. Right?
Yeah.
Most people say at the age of 6 you're not going to remember that. I can remember it crystal clear.
Yeah.
My mother crying in the background. My youngest sister was just born, crying. My other sister was screaming or not knowing what's going on. The sheriff is literally pulling out our beds, dude. Like, he's taking the beds out of our house. The only thing we were left with was my mother's van, because it was under her name, not my dad's. And I say that because it was a real awakening for me. And unfortunately, it was the downfall of my parents' relationship as well, which led to a divorce later on. And what it made me have was strong, thick skin,
It's good.
but ambition.
Yeah.
I always wanted to buy that house back.
So good.
And I will.
Yeah.
I will one day. I'm not going to give up on that dream. And unfortunately, my parents are divorced, so I don't know who's going to get it. But we'll cruise it. Man, we were living the good life. We would drive around in 7 Series BMWs with a phone inside of it. Are you kidding me back then? It was, had a wire even. Had a CD player.
Wow.
We were balling, right?
That's like today's Maybach, yeah.
It's pretty much. We're getting chauffeur driven to school, to homeless living in a van. $1.1 million. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you today to today's auction. Here we are at 123 Main Street in the beautiful area of Pleasantville. Today's bidding start from will be $1.1 million. I've got a few bidders out there today, ladies and gentlemen. I can see you all looking here. You've all looked at the home today. Let's start the bidding at $1.1 million. Where do we go from there? 1.1's the call.
1.2.
1.2 now is the call at the back. We're looking at everyone else around the room. 1.2 now is the call. Looking for a rise of $100,000. Who wants to say 1.3, 1.4, even better?
1.3.
1.3 I've got. 1.3 I've got now. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call it out 3 times. Don't miss out right now. First, second, third, all finished, all quite all done. Who wants to play right now? Don't miss out. Quick, sir. I've known you look at the property a couple of times. I can see your wife squeezing her hand. Don't miss out. You don't want to go home to an angry wife, or you don't want to be looking at properties for the next 4 weeks. Come on, mate. Don't miss out on this opportunity. 1.3 is now the call. I'll call it out 3 times. First, second, third, finished, quiet, done. Ladies and gentlemen, quick, up.
1.4.
1.4. 1.4. 1.4.